You may not know my next guest by name, but you certainly know her work from shows like The Simpsons, The Late Show, Charmed, and NCIS, just to name a few. Plus,
I hate being a witch. I just turned the most popular girl in school into a pineapple.
she's the creator of Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, the co-author of Facebook exec Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, Women Work, and The Will to Lead, and the creative mind behind this moment I'm sure you remember from the 2012 White House Press Correspondents' Dinner.
My mother was born in Kansas. My father was born in Kenya. And I was born, of course, in Hawaii.
Her new memoir is just the funny parts and a few hard truths about sneaking into the Hollywood Boys Club. Nell Scovell is a Newton native, we should know, joins me now. Nell, it's great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Can we start with the hard parts, then get to the funny, hard truths, and then get to the funny parts in a minute?
No, I thought about writing another book, just the angry and bitter parts.
That's what I want to talk about. The book could have been called The Only Woman in the Room. You talk about the fact that it's not a pipeline problem. What does that mean?
I think it's a broken doorbell problem.
Meaning?
Meaning the talent is out there, they're on the doorstop, they're ringing the bell, and no one's opening the door.
So is it sexism, racism, or just boys' clubism? I shouldn't say just. What is it?
I think there's deep cultural bias, and we're all soaking in it, and so it's hard to separate it out. And one of the sad parts is, you know, women show the same cultural bias as men.
Yeah, but when you do get in the door, I mean, I knew a lot of this before, but not as much in as much detail. When you do get in the door, you get harassed, you get assaulted, almost universally, almost everybody. So come on down, and we'll do horrible things to you. That's not an overstatement, is it?
Oh, it is an overstatement.
It is?
What makes it hard is when I started working at Letterman, I just wanted to blend in. You know, they say...
Well, you were it. You were the only woman. The second woman ever and the only woman at the time,
yeah,
right?
and they say dress for the job you want. The job I wanted only men had, so I dressed like a guy, and I talked sports, and I ate junk food. But other people were constantly bringing it up. I tell a story in Just the Funny Parts. On my very first day, a colleague says to me, "Before this is over, I'll see a tampon fall out of your purse." And I just couldn't figure out why he said it unless it was to remind me that I was a woman.
You know, when we started talking about the Me Too stuff in this on this show, I quoted Quentin Tarantino almost every single night. You know, his line, I knew enough to have done more.
Yeah.
When you read your book, everybody knew enough to have done more. From Letterman to Weinstein to Cosby. I mean, everybody in this industry knew about everybody, right?
Right.
But they kept quiet for their own protection? Is that what it is?
Yes, and I tell the story about Cosby where the William Morris agent's assistants used to tell each other, don't get in the elevator with Bill Cosby.
And what did Courtney Love say about Harvey Weinstein?
Oh, I know. And that was very brave of her. And, you know, one of the misunderstandings is that people say, well, then you can't have office romances. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is if you're the boss with the power to hire and fire people, you have a threat of harm that you carry with you all the time.
Well, speaking of that, I can't believe how brave you are. I mean, I read long before this, obviously, 8, 9 years ago, your piece in Vanity Fair about Letterman and his whole deal. I can't believe you ever got a job again after that. Were you not worried?
I worked with Dave again.
I know, but were you not worried when you decided to hit? Well, I don't know if you hit send in those days.
No,
when you said do
was.
it. Were you worried about your career?
Absolutely, and I thought it could be the last thing I ever did, and it turned out to be the best thing I ever did.
And you described a hostile work environment and all that sort of stuff. And when you describe, without going into colossal detail, this guy from the Smothers Brothers show, essentially forcing you to commit a sex act on him, you wrote this from what I read this weekend before Me Too.
Yeah.
So did you not believe that was going to be the end for you, or no?
Well, that was... So 94% of women in Hollywood say that they've been sexually harassed or abused by an older, more powerful person. 21% say they've been forced to perform a sexual act. So, you know, I got company.
I know,
and the reason I included it was it didn't slow me down. And I knew I'd been taken advantage of. You know, a lot of women walk out of those situations and think, oh, I was so stupid. I knew I wasn't stupid.
No, you were far from it. You know, I played that great line from the White House press correspondence. I can't believe, at the end of your book, you have some of the jokes you wrote he didn't use for his final one. Can I read my favorite?
Oh, please.
I turned 50. This is Obama, supposed to be reading this, but chose not to. Well in office, which meant I had to have my first colonoscopy. And guess what they found? Mitch McConnell. That guy can obstruct anything. I thought that was, in any case. Why do you have red carpet here, by the way? What is that for?
Oh, so this is a piece of the red
really
carpet.
Funny. From what?
From the actual red carpet of the Academy Awards. I helped write a pre-show. I know, because red carpet has become such a metaphor, we forget that it actually is.
What year was this?
2009.
I think I'm the only person that watches the pre-show. Do you watch the whole pre-show? I watched the whole red carpet
It's
thing.
the best. And I got to stand there. Robin Roberts was the host, and I would feed her questions or jokes. And Daniel Craig, who James Bond, passed by in a tuxedo, and I reached out and touched the back, unless you think it's creepy, in which case I didn't.
You know, when you, Robin Roberts is one thing, and I'm a big fan of hers, but Barack Obama is a whole different kettle of fish. When you know the President of the United States is about to have your words cross your lips, despite your resume, which is insane, I should say, are you not sweating bullets? Saying, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? Oh my God, what if he doesn't get the response that I think he should get, that he was hoping? Do you worry about that or no? Once it's written, it's gone.
Well, he's a great joke teller, and I quote Albert Brooks saying that he has Johnny Carson's timing.
Really?
But I'm from Newton, and which is arguably the most liberal city in the most liberal state. So writing jokes for President Obama was such a highlight. You know, it was my pleasure to serve my country.
But were you nervous or you weren't nervous?
I was. You know,
I'm nervous, and I didn't even write it, I should say.
Well, there's a joke he told about another Boston native I wrote, which is Matt Damon. I love the guy. He recently said he was disappointed in my performance. Well, Matt, I just saw the Adjustment Bureau, so back at ya.
That was really great.
So the morning before the speech, I get an email from Jon Favreau, the amazing speechwriter, and he says, I don't know if the president's going to do that joke. He thinks it's a little mean. So I wrote back to John, I've seen the Adjustment Bureau. Truth is a defense.
You know, Nell, I'm really jealous of you. Plus, your book is fabulous. Congratulations on a great career and a wonderful book. Nell Scovell, she's great. The book, again, is Just the Funny Parts and a few hard truths about sneaking into the Hollywood Boys Club.